So could Texas actually turn blue? That's the subject of today's video, as there's certainly changes happening in the country. Check this out. South Texas will never be red again. Homebuilders warn GOP over Trump's immigration raids. And basically, people are seeing what's happening at their work site. They're seeing what's happening on TV. And they're warning. This is actually Republicans warning Trump that you're going to lose Texas here. South Texas will never be red again. I also want to show you this. This is a person who has never protested before, doesn't usually participate in this kind of stuff, but listen to what he has to say.
And if you could just tell me again why you said that you came out tonight.
So I've never protested before in my entire life, but sorry.
It's all right.
I watched 4th and 5th grade kids run away from our own government. I never want to see that again. And I'm not going to stand by and watch my neighbors run away scared. It's not Camden County. It's not New Jersey. It's not the United States. I love the United States. I love New Jersey. And I love Camden County. I love Lindenwold too. But that's not what, we are. It's not who we are. And I decided I'm going to come out here and stand with you guys and be part of this. Because I never want to see a child ever run away from our own government ever again. Sorry about getting emotional.
That's okay. Thank you.
And I think this gentleman represents a lot of people, right? There's a lot of just regular people. They just want to raise their families. They want to go to their job. They don't necessarily pay attention or participate in this stuff. But when they see what the Trump people are doing, it's obviously terrible, right? And they're inspired to come out. And I think there's going to be more and more people like this. And you can even see now, we're talking about, this was in New Jersey, for example. It's all over the country. Or even talking about now in Texas, people are like, dude, the crap that you're pulling, you're going to lose Texas also. Here's a quote here. I told lawmakers straight up, South Texas will never be red again. That's coming from Mario Guerrero, the CEO of a South Texas Builders Association. Went to Washington last week. Here's another person, a Republican, Monica De La Cruz, out of Texas. They said they discussed her proposals with new policy to address worker shortages. So I guess they're having troubles, not enough workers, including legislation to streamline visa programs and address the need for workers in agriculture and construction, right? Two areas obviously we need. Here's a quote. I will continue to focus on what matters, delivering common sense policy solutions for hardworking immigrants who strengthen our communities and make home ownership affordable for all Americans. That's coming from Republican. Trump's losing a lot of people here. It's just his policies are whacked out, as you know. Here's more. Here's another quote. They started off with, hey, we're all Trump supporters, and we thought he was going to secure the border and then kick out criminals. We just never thought they were going to be coming after our folks, our workers, on that. And this is Kuhler saying, recounting the messages the builders shared the first time he met with them. And again, these are people going to Washington. They're builders, contractors, lumber companies, cement companies, and finance part of it. That type of ripple effect has hurt their economy, not only individuals, but their economy. And you're talking about a lot of people being affected. Here's another. From the White House, they say, there is no shortage of American minds and hands to grow our labor force, okay? And President Trump's agenda to create jobs for American workers represents this administration's commitment to capitalizing on that untapped potential while delivering on our mandate to enforce our immigration laws. And that's always been the big question. If you kick out all of the workers in agriculture or construction, what happens to the industry? And obviously this is a fundamental thing that's happening in the USA. I always say the same thing. Everyone's in on it. Anytime you have a house or stay in a hotel, go to a restaurant, right? There could be immigrant workers there. There could be undocumented workers there, right? And you're part of it. And the question would be, if you remove all of these workers, is the White House correct? Can you get Americans to go work in the fields? Can you get Americans to go be roofers? Can you get Americans to, do the lawn, whatever, right? These kind of jobs? It's just a question I'm asking. I think it's a legitimate question. I grew up, if you don't know, I grew up in Oregon. I actually picked berries as a kid. I baled hay. I worked on the farm. I know these jobs. I actually worked side by side many of these types of workers. So I know exactly how it is. And I can tell you, I never wanted to do that again. It is hard work. It's very little pay also. And then the other issue you run across when you deal with these kind of things is what kind of society do you want to have? In many countries, right? And USA is heading in that direction. It's just basically, two classes, like the ownership class, and then everyone else is just like low worker class kind of thing. And let me show you guys an example of that, just to give you an idea. And oftentimes Trumpers don't ever think about this kind of stuff. It's just not, Fox News doesn't talk about it. This is from Financial Times. 6 Wall Street bank chiefs bring in combined pay of $250 million in 2025. And then this would be kind of what the pay structure is. So 2024, they're getting paid, this is a year, like 30 to 40 million a year. You can kind of see it there. It's about 31 million is the low, 39 is the high. 2025, then I guess all of them are above now 40 million. And this would be the CEOs at the banks. And the thing is that, regular workers are struggling right now. And the question I would pose to you with this kind of stuff is this a fair system, a fair society? Donald Trump will say, well, all your problems, right? It's not the CEO pay, it's not bank profits, right? It's not regulations. And in fact, if you look at this stuff, I'm just showing you the charts against Financial Times. Investment banking revival and deregulation boosted U.S. banks last year. See that? So for those of you who lived in the great financial crisis, 07, 08, you'll remember things can really, really melt down. And the culture that you have in the USA among this type of class of people, you want to call it the Epstein class, you can do that, is move fast, break things, take as many risks as we possibly can because the money's flowing, borrow to the hilt, lend to the hilt. When things completely melt down and everything's overheated, well, we'll just get a government bailout off of tax dollars. Wow, fantastic, right? That's the plan. And CEOs get paid bucket loads of cash to essentially pump up stock. That's what this whole thing is.
Oh, there's a heart for you. Love is in the air as couples race to get their Valentine's Day gifts ready for tomorrow. According to data from Finance Buzz, it's kind of shocking. Americans are expected to spend $2.9 billion just on flowers this year. The sticker shock for a dozen red roses now sits at $93.07. That is a nearly 3% increase from last year. Now, what if you want an alternative, say an assortment of fresh fruits and chocolates? Well, today's consumer inflation report showed that fresh fruits and apples both saw a year-over-year decrease of 0.5%. Bananas are still up in the air. They're up 5.4%. Sugar and sweets, though, up 5.7%. Cocoa's gone through the roof.
And it was interesting because even Fox News is addressing the costs on the ground. $93 for a dozen roses is nuts. I'd like to hear from, your neck of the woods, how much you guys are paying for that kind of stuff. They're saying chocolate's still expensive, bananas, etc. And when you look at Trump's plan, his plan is basically piss off other countries and raise taxes on you through tariffs. So if you want to get goods from outside the USA, you're going to pay more effectively. And then they'll say, well, what we're doing, we're putting tariffs. So they're going to build factories here. But it's like, how are you going to produce bananas or coffee or things that don't necessarily come from the USA, right? It doesn't really make sense. And then this is part of the economy of the USA. Okay, so if we want to reduce food costs, for example, we'll use cheap immigrant labor. That's just part of the economy. If you want to say, hey, let's not use immigrants, let's not use cheap labor, you can make a couple choices. So one is, can we get Americans to go back and do those jobs? And then you have to pay them a fair wage, right? And what's that going to be? Do Americans want to do that kind of thing? And then that will then hit companies. Do companies then want to take a hit on their profits because now they have to pay workers fair wages? Do the Wall Street, do they want to take a hit on their margins? Do they want to decrease CEO pay? Like these kind of structures in society that is moral implications depending on how you want to run things. And I'm just showing you guys what the numbers are, This was in the news this week. Trump officials allies with Europe's far right in attacks on migration and hate speech policies. So we're getting involved with this kind of stuff. And there's been rumors out there that there is a slush fund to support right-wing activities. The White House people, or I say Trump people, deny it. Top Trump official says no slush fund for far-right Europe. When I hear him say that, I was like, there's definitely a slush fund, right? Listen to her own words. This is Sarah Rogers, one of Trump's people.
You know, part of my job is to counter misinformation and propaganda. And I come from a background as a First Amendment litigator, and so part of my job is to look for ways to counter misinformation and lies without censoring them. So sitting down to set the record straight, as here, is a great way to do it. So the idea that we have some special slush fund for the far right is a lie. That is misreporting by several outlets. But what is true, though, is that the State Department is continuing its long-standing practice of civil society, arts, and cultural grant-making in support of American priorities. It should come as no surprise that free expression is one of those priorities.
So you can hear right there, they basically just kind of gaslight you. Oh, well, slush fund. There's no slush fund. But to tell you the truth, we have grants that promote ideas that we want to push. I mean, you can see it right there. And then they're going to paint it as free speech, and that money will get funneled to Elon Musk in some way. And then this is sort of why they're under investigation in Europe, because they're like, hey, Musk, where is the money coming from to fund your platform? And are you promoting certain kinds of posts, right? And you have to show this stuff because it's all in part of the Trump administration. You have the corruption part, you have the illogical stuff, you have the bifurcation of society, the K-shaped economy, where again the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. You have the corruption that's just obvious to see, and you get these like whacked out stories. Golfers sue Trump administration over public course takeover in D.C. Great, and I've been hearing some about this. Trump wants to mess with the golf course over there. He wants to build parks in D.C. He wants to build monuments, name everything after Trump. It's as stupid as it sounds. This is what they spend their time doing. And then if you ever wonder, like, okay, so why don't we improve education in USA? Hey, why don't we improve the infrastructure in USA? Oh, wait, guys, we got an emergency. We have to go attack Iran. This is in CNBC today, so business news. U.S. military preparing for potentially weeks-long Iran operations. Great. So let's just go start another war and spend all of our money there. And oftentimes people ask, how do we get into these things? It's because people don't put one and one together. Like they think about, I'll just put it this way, like sort of street level kind of thing and not necessarily the whole picture. So for example, I'm just telling you the truth, guys, like the wars in the Middle East, be it Iraq, Afghanistan, you're talking about like a lot of money, like trillions of dollars kind of money. And the USA is heading off towards a fiscal cliff. I mean, the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, just recently came out saying basically, Trump with his deficit spending, because the numbers don't add up. Long story short, numbers don't add up, and you're increasing national debt. It's just going to bankrupt everything. I don't know how else to put it. They don't use the word bankrupt. I use the word bankrupt, but I mean, that's essentially where you're going to. And so kind of what it ends up happening if you look down the road and predict, you're probably looking at just weakening of public services, weakening of infrastructure. The Trump solution is use more and more AI to, automate everything. Then you're all out of a job. And it's just, that's kind of like the sci-fi dystopian reality where people like Elon Musk owns everything, right? And then he hires all his AI and robot girlfriends to run everything. I guess that's his plan. And the other people are out of a job. And then if you do want a job, I guess you're going to work at the farm or whatever and hope that they pay you okay. I mean, I guess that's their plan. So I know it can get frustrating to go through this stuff all the time, but I just want to tell you that you're not alone. Other people can see it too. This gentleman in New Jersey can see it. People in Texas can see it. They're even saying, hey, it'll never be read again. And effectively, things will change. I mean, people are waking up for sure, and you're going to see more and more fresh candidates come into office. So that's my thoughts on this. I'd like to hear yours. You're not alone. I want to remind you on that. And I'll catch you all in the next video.